What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 16 of the Fielder's Choice podcast. I am Dan Field. All to the way to the left, back from vacation, is Matt Giblin. And in the middle, we got Mrs. Angie Santamaro. What is up, guys? Episode 16. It's crazy.
16.
Crazy,
16.
right?
It's wild.
Let's go. Sweet 16.
Sweet 16.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
Yep, it's pretty.
Yeah, Maddie was on
quick week.
vacation.
Yeah,
Quick
how
week.
was your vacation?
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous up there. You guys have been up there. It's awesome
Lake-
up there.
Lake
Yeah.
Winnipesaukee.
Thanks
Awesome.
for taking care of the house and the cats, D. Appreciate it.
Yep, my pleasure. Got the clean
Oh, you
out.
were cat sitting, Dan.
Yep.
How cute.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
my
convenient that he lives just right down the street. Yeah.
It's true.
Yep. They were happy to see me. I'm sure they were happy to have you back. Poor kitties.
I think so, yeah. They were fine. Thanks
Good.
for keeping them alive.
Yep, they survived.
Bare
But,
minimum.
Yep. Welcome back. Shout out to so the Intercity League are in their finals right now. Shout out to the Lexington Blue Sox. No surprise that they're in the finals, and I think first time ever Lexington Bulldogs have reached the finals. So both Lexington teams got in. They're actually playing game 2 right now. I think they just started at 8 o'clock on the LSP YouTube channel. The Blue Sox won the first game. I think they walked off. I think they won 8-7. They were up by 6 runs, and the Bulldogs came back and pulled within 1. Oh, I'm sorry, they tied it, and then the Blue Sox, I believe, walked off in the bottom of the 7th to win game 1. So,
Okay.
Nice.
yeah, pretty
Two
good.
solid teams.
Pretty good
Yeah.
series over there. And I believe the Yawkey League are in their finals, or close to it. Yeah, it's crazy that we're almost in September.
At the end of the season, this
Yeah,
is wild. I feel like
mean-
this has been a really fast.
Yeah, every
Best
year
season.
just flies by.
It's true. It's every year. Yeah.
It goes by too quick, doesn't it?
Sure
Too
does.
quick.
I mean,
Oh.
and
Well,
now,
it's like, you go from 4 games a day and then all of a sudden nothing,
yeah,
right? It's just, it's wild.
yep, yeah, and umpiring has
Yep.
pretty much slowed down. Angie and I got to
Yep.
work the Boston Jakes, the firefighters team, played Omar's BBA All-Stars.
Nice. Good
Pretty
game.
pretty long game, huh?
Another long
It was a
game.
long game,
Oh my God,
Gibby.
3.5
It was a long
hours? Was it
game.
3.5
hours. Yep.
Yeah.
Started at 1. We were finished by 4:30,
Yeah,
and it was
Pretty-
hot.
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, I was
cool.
counting outs.
That's
Out,
never fun.
yeah.
That's
And-
never fun.
We're not positive, but we are kind of sure they might have added an inning and just didn't
Yeah, I
tell
swear
us.
to God, they skipped like.
I
innings.
think so
Or-
too.
Yeah, yeah.
I think they were just like, no, it's the top of the 6th, and I was like, are you sure? I think it's the top of the 7th.
Yep. But
I
it
think
was,
they just wanted to play more, but it was fine.
fun. I guess technically that was
Yeah.
your first
Yeah.
men's league game. I guess. I mean, if you call it men's league, right?
Yeah, well, technically, I mean, we did that scrimmage when we had just finished the class. You remember that scrimmage we had done for
Oh
Omar?
yeah.
And that
Right.
was
Oh,
brutal
yeah,
because it was
yeah,
like,
that- yeah.
the second time we had ever umped a game, he just asked us
Yeah.
to do the scrimmage.
Yeah, yeah.
It was fine, but it was brutal because we had no idea. Well, I had no idea what I was doing as
And,
far as positioning.
And both teams were very aggressive, from what I
Yes,
remember.
they were not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They
we
were
got
unhappy
through it.
with any call. Like any
No,
call,
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
game.
yeah.
And no call was good.
Yeah,
And
no
me and
calls.
you do one. It'll be nice and quick. Don't worry.
Yeah. This was they had I don't know if it was the sun, but there was a lot of trouble catching
Yes.
some fly balls in the
Yes.
outfield, so then it
Yes.
just made the innings a lot longer than they
Yes.
needed to be.
But we had
Yeah.
fun. We had a good time.
But yeah, it was my, I think, a first official other than the EFIS game that we did that I had a men's game. So
Yep.
it was good. Dan was trying to get me to do the plate, and I was like, I don't know that I want to do that
Yeah.
for my first game.
You could have handled it.
Yeah,
You would have been
After
alright.
what?
No
you know
kidding.
what? After watching it all and kind of being there, I felt the same way. But I'm glad I did the bases first.
All right, next time.
Yeah, next time.
All right.
For
you
sure.
would have been extra sweaty too. 3.5 hours.
I know. That's okay. I got my underoos,
yeah,
so we're all set. They came in the mail today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bill's
just in time for September and fall ball.
Bill's probably like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Time to get long ones.
Yeah,
You'd have to check. Yeah, I know.
We'll explain it to him when he comes in.
Yeah. Well, I have like insulated tights for winter.
Yeah.
Or April and October, but that's okay.
This has been an ongoing saga, you know. So.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, let's just say the gear for male umpires versus female umpires is a little different.
It's a little different.
Yes.
And lessons were learned. Were learned this season.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Because I didn't ump last July, remember? Because I was out. I couldn't.
Sure.
From the surgery. So this was my first like going through July season, and it was warm.
Yeah, it was a hot, very hot summer.
Yeah.
Very hot
So things
summer.
were learned. Lessons were learned.
Yes. But speaking of, go ahead.
We're here to educate, right?
Yeah. That is right.
But speaking of Bill McCallum, he is our special guest this week. He was a guest speaker at one of our winter meetings in the EMBUA that Matt and I were in attendance for. Unfortunately, Angie was not able to make it, but he was a very good speaker, and we wanted to make sure we had him on the show. Very knowledgeable, former professional umpire. He's umped at the AAA level. He's worked MLB Spring Training games in the Winter League, and he was also a teacher at the Harry Wendelstedt Umpire School. He's got more than 20 years of college umpire experience, and I think it's time to bring in our special guest. Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mr. Bill McCallum. Am I saying that right, by the way? Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I got walk-up music and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Did I say that right?
We're legit.
Yeah.
McCallum.
McCallum. Sorry, Bill McCallum. Thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it. Like I said, you're a guest speaker at one of our meetings, and it was great. I know Matt and I learned a lot, and I know Angie will learn a lot today from this episode, so we appreciate you being on the show. If you could please introduce yourself, that would be fantastic.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. This is quite an honor. I was just looking at doing a little bit of homework, and I saw some of the guests that you've had on. I'm in good company, so this is pretty cool. But yeah, let me give you a little background. So as Dan said, I worked 9 years professionally. I got to AAA and had some Major League Spring Training experience, and got to do some pretty special things in the baseball world and things that not everybody gets a chance to do. It was a great experience, and I still carry with me those experiences. I learned a tremendous amount during my years in baseball. That's where I grew up as a young adult. So, but yeah, I worked 9 years professionally, taught at the umpire school, which was a tremendous advantage, by the way, because I was always around some of the best in the world at our profession, and great teachers. And I was always around the rules, which kind of gives you an edge, when season starts. I'm not starting cold like a lot of other people, because we've been teaching it and talking it through most of the winter. So that was a great experience. Made some tremendous friendships, and I look back, and some of those friendships are really, really special. And we have a great camaraderie in our profession. I don't want to say it's unique. I think there are other professions that have that, but certainly in ours. And so it's great. When I got out of professional baseball, I did work over 20 years as a collegiate umpire. Just kind of worked locally. I didn't really aspire to work postseason games. I pretty much stayed around where I could go home at night, an umpire just enough to stay involved, and help other umpires, and make a few dollars, and it was great. And then in 2016, the NCAA had an opening for what they call an advisor, basically an evaluator position, and put my name in the hat and got hired by the NCAA. I came off the field. It was one of the prerequisites for the job, was to come off the field. So I've been off the field ever since. That was in 2016. I'm right in my wheelhouse doing what I do. I love doing what I do. I help umpires. I have an impact on at least I'd like to think, on helping guys to get better, or certainly to understand what it is that we're looking for postseason assignments. And it's a pretty hands-on job, and it's really what I love to do. I love to see people succeed and excel and bring out the most in their ability. So that's what I'm doing now. I also have a few other things going on. I do run a local organization, a training organization, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, called the New England Baseball Umpire Club. Occasionally I'll do some speaking engagements, such as the one I did that night that you spoke of. Mm-hmm. And I do a youth program in the city of Boston. I've been running that for, I believe this is our, I want to say 18th year of running that program. It's been very successful. And as you know, we really struggle with a shortage in umpires, and so we need young blood in our profession. Mm-hmm. So it's not only rewarding, it's also necessary to give some of these youngsters exposure to umpiring. So I got a lot going on. I pretty much everything you can possibly do short of being on the field, I do. And but it's really a big part of my life. So I've been very fortunate and very blessed.
So when did you first get into umpiring, and what inspired you to become an umpire?
Yeah, like most people, it's kind of just it just happens. It's not something you think of necessarily as a young kid. Although I was always intrigued by umpires. I was kind of as a youngster and a fan. I was kind of a geek. I'm interested in everything having to do with a baseball game, grounds crew, popcorn vendors, everything. Yep. Umpires. But what I found really intriguing about umpiring was the fact that they were on the field, part of the game itself. And but that's not really what brought me to it. What brought me to it was I wasn't a great player. I played up to the Babe Ruth level, and when I got too old, I was still down at the ballpark quite a bit. It was right around the corner from where I lived, and there were some nights where they needed an umpire, and I volunteered to step in there, and were good enough to give me I think it was $5 a game at the time, and it was great at 16 years old. Back in 1938 when I was doing that. So it was an interesting way to start. You learn a lot the hard way, and you're just kind of feeling your way around with no formal training of any kind. So when it was brought to my attention that there was such a thing as an umpire school, I decided at age 20 to go to umpire school just to learn how to do the job the right way.
Wow.
And where was that?
That would have been in 1981.
And where did you go?
First time. I went twice to umpire school, as many do. And in 1981, I went just simply to learn how. I had no idea that there was a pathway into professional baseball. But I did get on a reserve list, and I want to say I was number 17, and they took 14, I believe. Wow. And I was hoping my number would get called over the course of the summer. It never happened, but I also knew that if I went back to the umpire school for a second year, that I had a very high likelihood that I would succeed, and so I did that.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually the top returning student as I went back that year, and was a very strong class with several guys that actually got to the major leagues, and I had a chance to work with once I got an assignment. So 81 and 82 were my 2 years at umpire school. So,
Well,
yeah.
and where was that?
That's in Daytona.
In Daytona, okay.
Yeah, it's tough to take. You got to go down to Daytona in January and kind of camp out there for 5 weeks, and it's a little bit of an expense, and you gotta carve out 5 weeks of your life to do it.
Yep,
But I'll tell you, it was if it hadn't panned out the way that it did for me, I would have still said it was one of the greatest experiences of my lifetime.
Wow.
I've made a lot of great.
So you didn't just take a class like us; like you went to an actual school.
An actual school
For your first time. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And you were 20,
I was
like
20.
So
like
smart.
fresh out of school, or like just
Yeah,
mom and dad.
I-
I'm
yeah,
leaving. I'm going down here.
Yeah, I started taking some classes in college, and I felt like, well, this isn't for me, at least for right now. And while I'm young, I'd really like to get this experience under my belt. So I went to the umpire school, and then next thing I know, I'm in Clearwater at Philly's spring training in 1982.
Wow.
And off you go. All of a sudden you're a professional umpire. And
how old were you then? You were
happens-
20? You were 20?
I was 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Happens very fast.
I tell everybody now they want to be an elementary school gym teacher, but I feel like I really want to tell people to go be an umpire.
Yeah. The
Now.
path today, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but the pathway is a little different than it was back then. The umpire school does still exist, but I think the model is changing as we speak. It's changing, and in the next couple of years, there will only be one pathway, and it's through Major League Baseball itself. They now have their own academy that they run. So it is changing, but still, in order to really learn how to do the job the right way, going to an umpire school and not only sitting in a classroom, taking rules tests and all of that, but actually being taught where to go, how to move, how to position yourself, all of the mechanics, and to do it repetitively every day for 5 weeks until it actually becomes part of you. And that's the way to really learn something, and that's what takes place at umpire school. So pretty cool experience. Yeah.
That would have been incredible. We were all kind of thrown into the fire.
I know you were.
And learned as we went.
I know you were.
To think that you could have done a 5-week course and had all of that under your belt, it's a different world.
Bill, do you really believe that after 5 weeks, like you had everything on point, like ready to attack this game the way that an umpire goes into it?
No, definitely not.
Right, because you talk about that toolbox, which is like,
you certainly get all the foundational stuff, but no, you're nowhere near where you would need to be to get, obviously to the major league level. What you don't know is that as much as you have success at an umpire school, the journey is just beginning. You go into rookie ball, and for me it was 9 years working my way up through the minor leagues. You start off in rookie ball, and then you go to A ball and Double A, and then Triple A, and it's a journey, and it's a long process, and you learn along the way, a lot of the nuances. All you get at an umpire school is the foundational stuff. You learn the footwork, and you learn, where to be, and the foundational stuff, the mechanics that are so important when you're making calls. Same thing with balls and strikes. You get time working in the cage with a pitching machine, throwing pitches, and you're back there making calls. And and you do it repetitively for 5 weeks, and it gives you the foundation you need to go out there and start the journey. But the learning is really never ending. And again, I stress the fact that I was fortunate. I was around the very best in the world, literally. So I was on staff at Umpire School with a lot of these guys, and worked with many of them as well. And you learn from each other, and it used to be the old saying, and maybe it's still said, you learned a lot about umpiring just writing on the back of a napkin, sitting in a restaurant or a bar. And it's a lot of truth in that. Today, here's the good news. So, and Angie, you mentioned it. We just kind of got thrown into the fire. I know you did get thrown into the fire. Everybody does. But here's the good news: is that today there is access to so much information, so much training, and it's how you use it, and it's also weeding out some of the bad information. There's no shortage of bad information out there either. So the challenge is trying to weed it all out, and your development. It takes a lot of continuity to the work you put in to really truly develop as an umpire, to develop your skills. So I'll talk a little bit about what I do now, and you started to ask it, but I run what I call a training and development and reinforcement organization. That's what I do. When you go to become an umpire today, you go to an association, you go to the classes, you take the written test, you pass the rules test. You might get a day, maybe a couple days on the field in some sort of a field clinic or field test or what have you. And then you get a pat on the back and a good luck, and you're on your own.
And a patch.
Right? Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. So, and that's nobody's fault, because these people, they do a tremendous job. They're volunteering their time, and they put on classes, and they're very passionate about it, and they do a great job. So what I found was there's a gap there that has to be filled. That gap is in the development phase. Once you come out of all of that, there's a need for some sort of mentoring, some sort of continuity, refining of your skills, staying on it so you don't lose it, so it doesn't fade away, right? Because there's some of the stuff that doesn't happen every day. So you go out there on the field, and you might not see something that you might have learned in that class for 2, 3, 4 years, right? Or maybe once in a career.
Or you see everything in one game. If it's a little league game, everything.
That's true.
A lot of times.
But it's having it in front of you all the time, being mentally engaged, understanding not only what the rules are. I'll use as an example, say the obstruction rule, right? It's kind of a complicated rule. There's a couple different types of obstruction, as you probably know. So it's one thing to know the rule and know it, and you can take a test and you can test, but to be able to go out on the field and recognize it when it happens, or to be in the right position to see it happen, and to be able to nail it, right, and get that call, and then execute and know what to do when you make the call. Who's going where, right? What are you doing with the runner who was obstructed? What are you doing with the other runners? Is it a live ball? Is it a dead ball? You got all of these things. And unless it's always fresh in your mind, you don't have time to stop and reach into your mind and pull out the mental file about obstruction and look it up. It just doesn't work that way. So it has to be there on the tip of your tongue all the time. And the only way to do that is to constantly go back and reinforce and talk about it. So what I do is I hold 30-minute sessions throughout the year. I have membership, so people join. They can come to any number of sessions that they want. So we do a 30-minute session. It's very targeted toward a certain aspect of umpiring. And in 30 minutes, I think it's just the right amount of time, because you definitely take something away. It's not overwhelming. And you can attend, get that information, and then eventually we're going to circle back to that same information again at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's repetition, and it's having it out there in front of you all the time. A lot of times the classes will overlap with each other, some of the subject matter, and that's how you stay sharp, and that's how you learn, and that's how you grow and develop.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that all kind of ties together.
And is it like an online virtual, or is it an in-person thing that you do every week?
They're just Zoom classes. It's nothing fancy. It's me and a whiteboard, and we get on. This time of year is tough because everybody's on baseball fields, but we go pretty heavy in January, and starting in January, right after the holidays, we come right out of the chute. We go sometimes a couple times a week. I stagger the nights so people can come. And the same thing in the fall. It gets more intensity in the fall. It's great because everything's fresh in your mind. You're coming out of your,
Mm-hmm.
you can rehash some things. So guys find it very effective. I've had several members for several years that really like it. They just keep coming back. I got them from all levels. They're collegiate guys. They're high school guys. Some of them are just, they just want to work youth level, whatever it is. But it's really designed for that purpose, to give you a way to develop. So,
and all of that information is available on your website.
Yeah,
one that we have
will be. My website right now is under reconstruction. I have
that's
to
just
kind of redo it. So it's so forgive me for that. When I wrap up my youth program here in the next couple of weeks, I'll be getting back to that. But yeah, my contact information is there, and once it's back in business, the website will be very, very complete, and people will be able to sign up right on the website.
I'll be there.
So,
Yeah,
so Bill,
Yeah.
Bill, do you think it's a lot of like psychology-based training, or a lot of like mechanics and like timing and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we certainly talk about timing. The thing is that on a Zoom call, it's hard to actually carry out the drills that would be necessary. We can have we can have field classes on certain days, and we can do those things. But on a 30-minute Zoom session, we certainly talk about it. We talk about what it is. We come up with ways to challenge yourself to make sure that you're doing it. And then one of the other services that I offer as part of my organization is that if someone wants to hire me to come out and watch them work, I will do an observation, and then we'll spend time on a call the following day and break it all down based on that observation.
We should do a special episode where we pay you to go watch each one of us, and then you read our reports on the podcast.
I don't know if
but you don't. But wait. But you can't say who's who. Just say like umpire 1, umpire 2, umpire 3.
I like that. I like that. And we have to guess who's who.
And then we have to guess who's who. We'll have a poll.
I love the idea. Yeah. But these are ways that help us to develop. We certainly talk about those things, Matt. We spend a lot of time on positioning and all of that kind of stuff. We have sessions that I'll use the whiteboard, and we'll do the old X's and O's, 2 umpire system stuff. Where to be and where to move, who's covering what. Because you just don't get you don't get that stuff, and it's unfortunate, and there's a lot of guys out there and girls out there, more and more. And
a few, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just hard to put it all together, and it's hard to work with someone who has the experience to give you that feedback. I mean, they're worried about their own stuff. And then there's always the old question: does this person even want to share feedback? Or do they want to know anything from me? So there's always that aspect of it too. So it's just hard to get information. I've always used this analogy. I've always explained this is that when I talk to collegiate guys, I say, look, someone's in the stands on any given night, willing to give 100% of his focus to you and your job and what you're doing on the field. That's gold. That it just doesn't happen very often. Baseball teams pay a guy a lot of money called a pitching coach, whose job it is just to sit there on the bench and watch the pitcher work. When he makes a visit to the mound, he's not teaching that guy anything he doesn't know already. What he's doing is he's going out there to explain that he's not executing, that there's a flaw in his execution somewhere. And there's nobody that does that for us. Our job is every bit as technical in nature as pitching or hitting or any other aspect of the game. And we just don't get that kind of attention and that kind of feedback. So that's what I try to bring to umpires and to have an impact.
See, I think instead of umpires hiring you, I think that Walter or our signers should hire you to go out and review different umpires. And we talked about this a lot, and my understanding was back in the day when there was no shortage, there was more of that, veteran umpires going out and analyzing, rookie umpires, and there's just not much of that going on anymore. So it's great to know that you do that. It would be great if that kind of came with the package of becoming a new umpire, as opposed to the umpire have to proactively hire you to come out and do that. But that's just my thoughts on it. But it's great to know that that's an option.
Yeah. One of the things I've done is I've approached the associations in the state of Massachusetts, and I've made them the offer that if
there you go.
Please let your new umpires know, the ones that are newly certified, let them know that if they want to join my organization, I would give them a special for just $25 for the year. And,
wow.
and year one, my hope is obviously that they'd stay on. But even if they don't, in year one, which is so critical, coming out of the class and all of that, they've got a chance to have some continuity to their development. And so that's. But you're right, Dan. That's But I'm gonna let you talk with Walter about this. I know Walter.
Yeah.
Very good rapport, very good relationship.
Well, I feel like if anybody wants to get Dan a birthday present, this is it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but that every episode we're always talking about how we wish we had someone to evaluate how we're doing, because we have no idea other than feedback we get from the coaches or your partner. So it's great that you do that.
Yep.
Yep, that's cool.
So those are the things I'm up to, and that's what I do now. It's really my passion. I get more satisfaction out of those things than I even did. I think when I was on the field. Maybe not so much when I was trying to get to the major leagues, but ever since then, I just kind of turned it in another direction and said, let me have an impact on others.
Yeah, I know you have YouTube videos out there, training videos from a while back. Maybe you didn't know that, but yeah.
No, but I believe they exist.
Yeah.
I certainly believe they exist.
You were out in the field and doing different drills, stuff like that.
So I got a two-part question for you. The first was, you had a pretty long career on the field. Was there a particular? I know you told a story at our meeting about a particular moment with Bo Jackson. I think everyone would love to hear that story. But is there another moment that that particularly stands out as well? And the second part was, I'll let you answer that, and then we'll get to my second one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a good question. Let me just tell you this about myself. I'm not a big storyteller, Matt, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. I have stories. Believe me, I have stories, and players have stories. But here's the problem: is that our stories get better with time, and in every case, we the umpires are the hero at the end of the story. And we delivered the big punchline at the end of the story. And, they're great in their place. But I'm not a big storyteller. However, I share that story for a very particular reason. I think it's a great illustration of the point that I always try to make. And that is that when you're learning how to umpire and you have these confrontations on the field, as much as they make great stories later on and we laugh at them, and that's a big part of being an umpire, they're not funny when they're happening. They're never funny.
No, that is accurate.
It's kind of scary, and it's intimidating. There's a lot of adrenaline flowing, and you got a lot to manage in those cases. And so the reason I share that story, I'll go ahead and share the story. So I'm going to make the presumption that everyone in the audience knows and remembers Bo Jackson, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Perhaps would have been in 2 halls of fame had his career not been cut short. But anyway, we were. I had a spring training game. I was on the plate, and Bo Jackson was playing for Kansas City at the time. I called him out on a third strike on a pitch that I deemed to be on the inside corner. He disagreed with the call, and he took his bat and he not blatantly but pretty clearly drew a line about 6 inches inside off the plate, as if to say that's where the pitch was. It's a no-no in baseball to do that, because you're showing up the umpire. So it would be considered an unsportsmanlike act. It was kind of somewhere between subtle and not so subtle, but he did it. And now you got to keep in mind, I'm a AAA umpire who's trying to carve my way up to get to the big leagues. So you have a lot going through your head, and a lot of it's trash. And I just had in my head that I don't want to be ejecting this guy. This is a high profile guy. I'm a AAA guy. I just want everything to go smoothly. I can't eject this guy. However, I can't let it go either. So in my mind, there's a kind of a storm, right, going through your brain as to, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? And what came out of my mouth was, you don't draw a line on my field. I don't care who you are. Okay, so that's what I said. I don't know where it came from, but that's just my reaction, and that's what I said. And he turned around and he called me a cuss word. I'll spare the word. I know it's a family show. So I ejected. And in hindsight, I wish I had just ejected him for drawing the line, because in a sense, by me doing that, I'm kind of baiting him, if you know what I mean, right? Right. But in any case, so I eject him, and he comes at me, and he's a big guy, and at the time, his thighs.
He breaks stats on his thigh. Yeah. Yeah.
He's got thighs bigger than my waist, maybe not now today, but back then he did. And the third base coach come down to get between us, and I at least my perception was, I'm probably exaggerating, but it's almost like he just picks him up and moves him aside. And he's heated. The manager was John Wathen was his name. He was the manager for Kansas City, pretty decent guy. And he come out and he said, "Bill, what did he say?" And I told him what he said. Sometimes that's risky. Sometimes you don't want to say it, because what if he agrees with it, right? Now you get another ejection.
Yeah. So
it's a little risky, but I knew Wathen a little bit, and pretty fair guy. So I told him what he said, and he said, I don't blame you. I would have run him too. That's what he said. Okay. So my confidence level kind of goes up here a little with that. And so the dust settles, and we play on, and the next hitter is a guy named George Brett. You may have heard of, Hall of Famer, right? So he gets in the
Just
box.
some guy named George Brett. Some guy.
Yeah.
I love the way you just like casually threw that in there.
Yeah.
Hope his bat was clean.
He
Yeah.
gets in the box and he's digging in and he's just looking down. He's not looking back at me. He's just looking down at the ground as he's digging in. And I hear him say, "Looked like a good pitch to me." So validation, you know. So I'm feeling a little better about myself at this point. But again, I think the story is a great example of how, if you put yourself in my shoes, how scary that is. Not because I'm ejecting this guy in front of a lot of people or because he's a high-profile guy. No, it's because when you're competing and trying to get to the big leagues, you want to make sure you do everything right. You know, you want to make sure you make the right moves, you do the right things. And you know, you don't want to mess up, because at some point you got to make a phone call. I'm on the phone call that night with Marty Springstead. He's the supervisor of umpires, and I want to make sure that I've got a watertight case. You know, that I've taken care of business on my end. So he had seen it. He called me in my hotel room, and he was great. He assured me that I handled it fine. Everything was good. But you take away a lot from that. There's a lot there. There's a lot of substance there. And if excuse me, and if you don't break it down and analyze it and ask yourself what you could have done differently, if anything, should I have done anything differently? How could I have handled this better? Whatever. That's where you learn. And then the other big thing, and a lot of times gets overlooked, is how did you react in the aftermath of that? Because there's so much adrenaline going, and I think you'd all agree as your new umpires, right? When you have a heated situation, whether it's an ejection or you're just having to put somebody in their place or address a situation, whatever, and then they go back there and still operate, right? Still get pitches right.
Well, right.
Yeah. It's
right. It is very hard.
And then have all those eyes on you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a classic example of how, you know, it makes for a great story and all of that, but at the time it's very nerve-wracking and unsettling. And you know, now as you move through your career and as time goes on and you get more comfortable and more established, you don't even think about that anymore. You know, you don't get rattled as much as time goes on. But in that situation, it was very intimidating. So it just makes for a good story to share in that light. So.
Build the toolbox, right? Like I use it all the time. Like it just gives you the experience to keep going, right?
Yeah.
And do it better.
But similar. Sorry.
I was just
so
gonna
when you talk about reference to what I talked about probably that night was, you know, when you have to address a situation with somebody in particular, there's two types of situations, the way I view it. One is what I consider a distance kind of situation where someone's yelling at you from a dugout or from a coach's box or something, and you got to yell across the field, right? That's one type of situation. The other type of situation is the face-to-face, where you got a close call, the skipper comes out, and you have a confrontation face-to-face. So those are the two types. So let's just take the distance one. So someone's popping out from the dugout, and how are you going to handle that? So when I talk about the toolbox, tell me if this was the context that I was talking about. But you want to know what are the right things to say, when to say them. What about body language? Coming into play. Do you warn them, or is it premature to warn them? Perhaps. How are you going to handle that situation, and how much are you going to let go, and how much are you going to, put a stop to it, and then ultimately sometimes an ejection ends up being the appropriate response, and a lot of times when those things get mishandled, it's just because the umpire is not educated, doesn't know what he should or she should do or not do, and that's the battle, and that's where confidence lags, because if you're not sure, you're just never going to be as confident as you would be if you knew exactly what tools you had at your disposal. Is that the context, Matt?
That's pretty much it. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
I was going to say, similarly to your story, Bill, I have been very nervous to eject somebody because I haven't wanted the kind of narrative to be that I've been an emotional female, right? So kind of as you were talking about, you didn't want to throw anybody out because you were trying to move up. I've been similarly kind of rhyming in that, just like I never wanted to get that narrative because I am the only female around here, right? So if they say like, oh, we had this jackass dude, as an umpire last week, well, that could be one of 100 people, right? But if they're like, oh, it was that chick, well, it's just me. So, right? So like anytime, like it's just me. So I didn't want that to become any sort of narrative that like I couldn't handle the on-field banter or, whatever.
Yep. Interesting. The things that can get into your head, that's an interesting one. I had never thought of that angle. For a female to be in that situation. But again, I think all the more reason that if you know what you have at your disposal, it really goes a long way to help in that regard. When you're saying something to a player or to a manager, and you're on firm footing when you say it, it really changes everything. You feel a lot more confident in what you're doing. But if you're not sure, is this the right thing to say? Or might I be perceived a certain way? Then it's a lot harder. To grind through it. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I think as we talked about, like we took a class, right? You went to school. We took a class and then we were on the field. So our toolbox and that confidence level wasn't necessarily, I think, where it needed to be to feel the strength to say, like, I'm going to eject this person for, they did X, kind of one of the three things and they're out.
Right.
Whereas I didn't have that confidence yet. I definitely didn't have it last year. And I'm definitely starting to feel it this year, but I didn't have it last year. So I just didn't want that to be the thing. But I hear you, like the toolbox, definitely it's starting to fill up.
Yeah, that's good. And it will, as long as you stay on a path of learning and gathering experiences. There's no substitute for gathering experiences. As you work and you gain experiences, you kind of start building a mental library, right? And that's very powerful. It's important to hear instruction, whether it be from myself or someone who's experienced in teaching, but also to take those experiences and store them away. And you start figuring out what works and what doesn't work. It's it's all part of it. It's all part of the process, and it takes a while to get there. It's not an easy thing, and it's a big part of umpiring. There's the X's and O's part, and the mechanics and all of that stuff, but it's handling the people. It's really tough.
So I know you said you watched a few of our prior episodes, but I'm not sure if you saw this, but we do actually have an ejection counter. Yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah.
We're at 4.
And all 4 were Matt.
Yeah.
So far. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're talking what, 2? Would you say 2 years?
Yeah. Angie and I in our second year. Matt's in his 3rd year.
Okay. All right.
So, let's see. So only 2 of them came this year. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Game 20 of a marathon vendor too. So.
Yeah.
He had it coming.
Interesting.
I wish I could go back and do it over. I'll say that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, Matt, if you go back and you learn from it, it's a win. That's how you got to look at it. We all make mistakes. We all mishandle things. We all maybe could have handled something better than we did, but it's how you break down that information and learn from it that really matters. There's so much to learn in almost every situation.
So this wasn't one of our questions, but Angie brought up female umpires. What's your thoughts on Jen Powell, or the first female umpire in the MLB?
Yeah, I know Jen a little bit. I worked with her at a couple of the umpire camps.
Oh, do you have her contact info? We're trying to get her on the show. We would love to have her on.
Oh, are you?
Can I tell you, before you tell the story, I was crying. I was watching it, and I'm just tears, like silent ones. I wasn't sobbing, but just like tears just were coming. It was like Christmas Eve that Friday.
Yeah.
I was so excited. Yes.
Yeah. You could tell Jen was excited too, just to be out there.
I can't. It's giving me chills.
Yeah, you may want to consider waiting till the season's over, Dan. Before.
Yeah, I know. She's hot
all
right
the
now.
attention she can handle right now.
Yeah,
But I'll just say this: the amount of pressure that she must have been under. There were people in that stadium in Atlanta who were there to watch her work. That's literally true. On top of many who tuned in on the Saturday for the first game she had when she was at first base. So that's kind of unique. Umpires get their first shot in the big leagues, and usually it's things go right. Nobody knows. But for her, much different story. A lot of attention. The attention is not new. I mean, the media's been following her around everywhere for a long time. But as that built up, the amount of pressure must have been incredible. And I don't know if it's ever been matched with another umpire. It's certainly umpires have worked under pressure for a long time, but I'm not sure about in that way. That was
yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people are ragging on the first pitch that she called, strike.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the game got. I don't think the game was on a national.
I think it was on Amazon Prime, right? Wasn't it?
Is that what it was?
I think so.
Yeah, Amazon was streaming it for free. Actually, if people wanted to tune in, they could. It was a free game. Okay. Yeah, so there was a lot of, and it was just online, and a lot of people were saying a lot of men were saying some pretty shitty things.
There was some pretty horrible things in the comments.
The game, I didn't know it was on Amazon, and I'll bet a lot of America didn't know that. So what happened, I think, is that the first pitch got the most attention because everybody, it went off.
Exactly.
Anyway, so, in some cases, it was the only attention, because that's what they highlighted. So, but anyway, yeah.
But her scorecard was still, I think, it was average compared to.
It was solid. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think she was 93% overall, and I think 91 for strikes, 95 for balls. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that. I have the ump scorecard somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we got sidetracked, but.
I mean, that was obviously one of them. We've got so many things going on. I mean, just talk about the strike zone and the electronic calling of pitches and challenging system maybe coming next year. We live in a world of pitch clocks now and replay and umpires announcing the outcome of replay, and there's just so much, and the profession has changed, and in some ways, I guess for the good, and in some ways, it's I don't want to sound like an old timer, but it's it's, when you've lived it a certain way and you've taught certain skills, and those skills start becoming obsolete. It's always hard to adjust to that.
Yeah, there must be some kind of process there, right, where you're kind of understanding where you fit in. I'm very much a traditionalist too. Like I kind of like the speed up rules and the bigger bags and stuff. But I mean, at heart, like I'm a traditionalist too. Like I'll sit back and watch the old games just to kind of learn what other old hitters were doing. Right now with umpires, like to see them go down completely on a knee, like in the 80s and stuff, is bizarre. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't. Please do not devalue anything you have done, because if anything, you have paved the way for some of this technology stuff to kind of break on through too. I mean, it's taken this long. It could have tried to implement it earlier, I think, but I don't know. I understand where you're at, though. Please do not devalue anything you've done.
No, I think that I don't think our skills are obsolete, at least not yet. But I kind of, you get the feeling that it's headed in that direction. Here's my fear. The calls can get corrected. I think that's a good thing. But my fear is that our game becomes unrelatable to lower levels. Like, you're looking at one game on television, and it's done a certain way. And then kids are coming up, they don't have, we don't have challenge systems for pitches, and we don't have, TrackMan, giving us scores on our balls and strikes, and we don't have, replay and all of these different things. And so I don't want to say it's a different game, but it just becomes unrelatable to youngsters who are playing our game and feeding the pipeline, the young talent coming up. And I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose kids. I don't want to lose young, talented players. I don't want to lose young, talented umpires. So that's my fear with all of that. But it's certainly a different game. Umpires approach the game differently than they used to. We have it in college baseball as well, and it's definitely had an impact. Umpiring is much more of a science today than it used to be, and unless you're engaged and you are learning the newer stuff every day, you fall behind quick. I'm very fortunate that I stayed in college baseball, and even in the last 10 years since I've been in this role, I've really watched the game at an accelerated rate change. And had I not been engaged, and I attend a lot of camps, like I'll go to a lot of collegiate umpire camps and stuff to stay involved in teaching. But not only am I teaching, but I'm learning what those guys are teaching to the umpires. And we've got some major league guys coming in to do some of the teaching, and so there's constantly ways to learn some of the new things being done and the new approaches to the job. You can fall behind quick if you're not engaged, real quick. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of training, so you said you spent nearly a decade as an instructor at the Wendelstedt Umpire School, which is probably the most respected school in the country. How did you get that gig, and what was it like teaching like the next generation of umpires?
It was an incredible job, I'll tell you, Dan. I was very, very lucky. I think I mentioned I was the top returning student my second year when I came out of umpire school. Had some guys, a couple guys that went on to work in the big leagues that I had a chance to work with, and Charlie Relaford. You may
not Angel Hernandez, was it?
No, Angel was not in my class, and I can't remember. I did work with Angel. I did work with him. I know Angel pretty well.
He gets a lot of shit, but
yeah. But I worked with Relaford, Brian Gorman. They were in my class. So the three of us. There were actually four of us. The other guy has since he got out of baseball and has since ceased. But we all got hired the same year to go work for Harry. We came out as students from. I think I mentioned that it was one of the biggest classes and one of the best classes. And he hired all four of us that next year to be on staff. So it was quite an honor, I have to say, and I had a chance to work with some of the very best umpires. Harry was a tremendous teacher, had a tremendous influence on my life. Randy Marsh was on our staff. I don't know if all these names mean anything to you because they're all retired now from being on the field, but Jerry Davis, Jerry Lane, John Hirschbeck.
Jerry Davis, is that the Jerry Davis of the clothing line?
Jerry
Yeah.
Davis
Yes.
Sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we all worked together on staff, and we're all very close, and we all learned from each other. And I learned a tremendous amount of stuff from those guys. Those guys were ahead of me, in terms of their starting time in baseball. So they were already either in AAA or in the major leagues when I was an instructor. So I got a chance to learn from those people. It's so valuable, and not only learning to umpire, but learning to teach umpiring as well, which is a different skill. Just because you're a good umpire doesn't necessarily make you a good teacher. They're different skill sets, but they complement each other. If you're a good teacher, you benefit from that too. You become better at your craft. So I was very blessed. I had a chance to work with all of these guys, and I was on staff for my 9 years that I was in baseball, and it was pretty awesome. Every January, right after New Year's, report to Daytona Beach, and school ran until about the middle of February, and it was something I really look forward to every year. Great
location for it.
Yeah. Perfect.
I love Daytona. I love the area. I used to love going there.
Is that purposely to see how see if the instructors slack off, go out and have some drinks, just to see how serious they take it?
There is something to that.
Yeah,
there is something to that. Because Harry would preach that at the beginning, to be careful, and you learn a lot about people and how they behave or fail to behave. It's tempting. There's a lot of temptation down there, and either you're serious and it's a business trip, or you're going to go down there and goof off, and it shows either way. So there is something to be said about that. And our school the ball fields were right next to the speedway down there.
Wow.
And in January, they're running all the trials, in speedway. So, when you work on your umpire voice, you really had to work on your umpire voice because it was deafening with the cars in the afternoon going around that track. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Bill, can I ask you the elephant in the question?
Elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room question.
It's like the elephant question in the question.
I butchered that.
Gibb is just back from vacation.
Yeah, he's still in vacation mode.
I know what you mean, Matt. Go ahead.
But I was any thought of yourself going to the majors, and why not? What got in the way? Or
yeah, no, I'm glad you asked. So after 9 years, I did get released, and that's the reality for most umpires. The funnel gets real small as you start working your way towards the top, and there needs to be a certain number of openings and a certain number of umpires in line to get jobs. At the time, there were 2 leagues. Now it's all one staff at the major leagues. When I was competing to try to get to the big leagues, Marty Springstead was the American League supervisor, and he had a certain way that he wanted you to work. It's pretty much the way everybody works today. What we call kind of the box or the slot or whatever you want to call it. And the other supervisor was Ed Vargo, and he was the National League guy, and he wanted everybody to work in the scissors, which is a stance that had one leg back, one leg forward, leg back. Probably seen it. You don't see too many people work that way anymore. And one of the reasons for that is it's dangerous. The way that you're putting your head forward and taking shots to the head, and they've determined that it's quite dangerous for spinal injuries and head injuries and all of that. But that was what we were dealing with, and And so you kind of had to make a choice. How am I going to work? Because if I worked one way, this guy was going to love me, but this guy was going to hate me, and vice versa. So it was a hard position to be in. But I'm not bitter. I will say this: I was seen by both leagues. Marty came out, watched me umpire, and from the feedback I got after the fact, my understanding was that he didn't dislike my umpiring. He just didn't have too many openings. And he had guys that were pretty well groomed and ready to go into those slots. The Vargo saw me work at instructional league 1 year, and I'm not sure that he disliked my work, but he liked somebody else better, and that's really what it comes down to. And I tell umpires all the time, look, it's just somebody's opinion. You can only control what you can control. You work hard, and in the end, they're going to make a business decision that they feel is best for their league. They're accountable, right? And I can live with that. I know guys that didn't get seen. Today it's very systematic. Everybody gets seen a certain number of times. There's data. There's all it didn't used to be that way. So I can't complain. I got seen, and so I got released.
It's still awesome.
But it's also very much like professional sports, though, right? Like the triangle, right? Like everybody starts off at little league, and then it gets smaller as you go to high school, and smaller for college, and smaller for pro. Like it. And when I think about umpiring and playing, right, it's like checkers versus chess. And sometimes that's, somebody's just playing a better game than you, or, however it may go. But that you can be wonderful and still not get the shot because it's just not that many spots. And that is the harsh reality of life in any aspect. But I think especially in one with so little room for extras, even if you're just as good.
Well said. You're absolutely right. It's a harsh business. It's a harsh business. No, I still today I have the same conversations with collegiate guys. My job with the NCAA is I'm one of 4 guys. We select the umpires for the postseason every year. Regionals and Omaha. And when somebody doesn't make it in a given year, it hurts. Everybody feels like they deserve to be there. Everybody, and they, and in some cases, it's not anything they did. It's just that, in any given year, it's a very competitive business, and any given year, somebody else got the nod that year. And the good thing with collegiate baseball compared to professional baseball is that the door does not close. Professional baseball, the door closes, and that's it. And college baseball, you keep coming back and competing, and but when you understand that you can only control what's in your control, and somebody else is making those decisions, and sometimes they're not perceived as fair decisions, and sometimes they're not. I mean, somebody does everything that he's been asked to do, and still doesn't get the nod. That's hard. That's a hard conversation to have, but it's the reality, because somebody else is working hard too,
But that managed to not happen for you, and then you kind of still created this entire career revolving around umpiring, and now you're still working in the city of Boston with youth, right? The youth umpires that you're kind of helping, right? So you've managed to cultivate an entire career around umpiring, even though it didn't go that way for you. And I think that is something in and of itself, right? Because you're still doing it, and you get to love this sport, and you get it. I mean, umpiring is a sport in and of itself, I think, right? So you still get to love it and play it and be in it. And now you're working with kids doing this because,
Yep, you're absolutely right. And what's really great is I get to go home with my family at the end of the day. You don't get to do that.
There's that too, right?
That's a whole different world. So, but yeah, I do. I've like I say, I'm very fortunate. I've been able to do a lot of great things with baseball, and it's still a big part of my life. I still have all those friendships, and I still have at least I'd like to think I have an impact. The great thing with the youth program is that it goes a lot deeper than just umpiring. It's a lot about life skills, and I'm working with kids from all different walks of life. They're city kids, they're great kids, and we spend a lot of time talking about responsibility, being responsible, communicating, fairness. We talk a lot about fairness. We talk a lot about work ethic, developing all of those things. Trying to build confidence, teaching them how to look you in the eye. These are not easy things for young people. And by the way, deal with some guy that's 3 times your age. Maybe yelling at you in a situation. So there's a lot there, and they're great. They're fun to work with. It's very rewarding, and and none of that would be possible if it wasn't for my background and my experience in baseball. It's pretty
absolutely, and I mean, you just talked about some lessons that sound so important, but I think one of the most important that we don't talk about enough is that kind of thick skin and confidence that umpires have to have even before they walk onto the field. You can know the book inside and out. You can, call balls and strikes all day as well as anybody else, but that confidence and that thick skin, you really need that. And I think for me, those have been the most important lessons to learn. What do you think are kind of the most important things that you're teaching these youth umpires?
Those things are very, very important. We do talk a lot about those things. And the other thing I try to tell them, and I really tell all umpires, whether it's these kids or whether it's adults, is be patient, be really patient. Process, and I would encourage all 3 of you to be really patient in your development as an umpire, because it can really get overwhelming. And there's so much to it. And those kids are working games, and they hear my voice in the back of their head when they're back there working. And coaches are great. They're very supportive. So the kids go back there, and I just know that it's one thing if you're going to go back there and wing it. It's another thing to go back there and try to do it the right way, and to hear Bill's voice, telling you to do this. It's really a lot for them. And but I tell them to be really, really patient. Umpiring is here's an analogy that I use. I'm a big analogy guy. So here's if you turn back the time machine back to when you're a kid and you learn how to ride a bicycle. Not a fun process. You fall, you skin your knees, you get back up, you get back on the bicycle, you fall again, you skin your knees again, right? And it's kind of a grind, but you know that there's a reward at the end if you can figure it out. So you keep doing it, and at some point you figure it out. You understand what balance is, and you just figure out how to keep that thing moving, and you take off like the wind, and it's life-changing. It's one of the most life-changing experiences that we have. And umpiring is much like that. You got all this information and all these skills you're working on, and it just feels overwhelming, and you're getting yelled at, and you're questioning whether you want to keep doing it. But then the day comes when it all kind of clicks. It makes sense.
When's that? When does that happen? When? What year?
I knew you were going to ask.
I just need to know.
Yeah, it's so different for everybody. It's so different, and that's one of the really neat things for me. Like I've watched umpires develop for so long. I've seen it. I've seen it both at umpire school, and I've seen it in doing what I do today. People get it at different times, at different phases in their development, and you watch one person kind of figure it out, but they peak over here, and then somebody else is still grinding at it and working at it, and they pass the other person, and it's really kind of cool to watch that happen, because you don't always expect it. And excuse me, but everybody's different. Everybody figures it out at a different time, in a different way. So, but that would be the biggest piece of advice that I would give umpires who are learning how to do the craft, and a certain preset to those kids. And you'd be amazed that when I talk to those kids and when I spend time training them, it's all the same stuff. It's no different. I can be talking to a high-level Division I collegiate guy, and I can be talking to a kid who's never done it before and is learning how to do it, and it's the same stuff. It's it's timing, it's positioning, it's the same fundamentals. I'm a big fundamentals person, and I'm a firm believer in fundamentals and patterns of behavior. If you can establish, a big part of umpiring is patterns of behavior. You establish a good chain of behaviors that you follow that will set you up to win. You absolutely will, and that's what we try to carve out. There's a lot of muscle memory, a lot of things you can do that not on a baseball diamond that you can practice and establish muscle memory. So
you may have just answered my next question, but what do you look for when evaluating an umpire, and what do you think separates a good umpire from a great umpire?
Well, that's a great question, and I'll tell you why. I just answered part of it when I was talking about fundamentals. Okay, I definitely look for fundamentals, and there are a lot of umpires who don't have really great fundamentals but have had high success. They can achieve a lot, even have flaws in their fundamentals and in their execution. They're better than I am because I couldn't do that. I had pretty good timing, and I had to have good timing. If I didn't have good timing, I wasn't a very good umpire. But some guys can umpire really well despite having fast timing or other flaws. So it's amazing when you see that. But I still point to fundamentals. I still have my reservations about moving a guy forward who's not sound fundamentally, because it's amazing, but it always has a way of coming to get you at the wrong time. So I do look a lot at fundamentals, and you can imagine that we're talking about guys that are really accomplished, have a lot of experience. Many of them have games in the big leagues. They worked professionally and were fortunate enough to get a couple hundred games in the big leagues or what have you before they were released, and they come to the college game, and you're splitting hairs sometimes, and it's hard to define because they all have great judgment, they all achieve high success, they all get their plays right. We're looking at some really small details. How this guy, how does this guy do reading the action, reading the ball off the bat, reading the movements of his partners in coverage. Those are important things. When you're working with 4 umpires, it's a lot different than working with 2 umpires. You 2 umpire system, it's a system, but working a 4 umpire system is really a system, because everybody's got a duty, everybody's got a role, and you have to be able to read what the other guy's doing. So it's another layer of skill, and you have to be so good, and there's a lot there, and some guys struggle with it. Some guys are smoother than other guys in that regard. So that's a big part of it. I also look for a lot of the little things when they're handling situations. Some guys are really, really good at handling situations before they become situations, if you know what I mean. Okay. And then others will really frustrate you because I know they're better than this, but the manager comes out to argue, he turns and he's walking away, and the umpire just has this urge to say one more thing, and the next thing you know, the guy turns around and comes back, and you just expect better from someone with that kind of experience. So as the season unfolds and you watch people work, these things reveal themselves, and how do they handle those things is really important. So
can I ask a follow-up question really quickly? Sorry, Gibby. It's kind of like a two-parter with this. So my first question is, do they know that you're there evaluating them? Or do you go and they don't know that you're there? Because I wonder if it's different kind of either way.
Yeah. Usually they don't know on the first night.
Okay. So it's a 2-night eval.
Well, typically college baseball, the format is it's a weekend series. So it's typically a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I travel in on Friday and I go to the game. And after the game's over, I go and knock on the door, right? And I'll go in, spend a few minutes, I'll say hello, and that's when they are first learning that I'm there. So I've already watched the game, learning that I'm there. And I don't typically spend a lot of time on that night because everybody traveled in, everybody's tired, and all of that. Usually it's the middle day. I'll spend time with the crew and go over a lot of stuff in the locker room after the game's over. And then Sunday's travel day out. So I don't typically go down there on that night. So that's a typical weekend. There are some occasions where they might know I'm coming because I might have talked to the coordinator or something. Sometimes I call the ballpark to get my credentials, and I call and I'll talk to somebody, and I don't have any control whether that person tips them off.
Right.
I'm sure.
They'll say, Bill's coming.
Yeah. But,
and then my other, sorry.
It doesn't bother me because they don't typically mail it in. They usually work hard. Our season's short, so they work hard.
Yeah, I bet they do. And I think it's also probably really hard to fake being good, right? Like it's such a hard job. It's kind of hard to fake being as good as you are or you're not.
Yeah.
But my other question was, when you see umpires, is there an X factor that you can see in some umpires and you just know like this person's great, like they're going to be great, they just have this other thing?
You can sometimes, yeah. A big part of it for me is to meet a guy. There's sometimes I don't get a chance to meet the guy. I might see his work on the field, but you learn a lot by shaking a guy's hand and looking him in the eye and having some interaction. I try to view the total package, and there's an air of professionalism in somebody that certainly can come through, and it's certainly favorable when you get that. But it's how they carry themselves on the field and interact with people. If I see how somebody interacts, something simple with a ball boy or a bat boy on the field, or with a clubhouse attendant in the locker room, it tells me a lot. It tells me a lot, and so I look at all of those things. They're all factors, and especially at that level where everybody's so good.
So now that you've met the three of us, any X factors?
Here it comes. Here comes the question.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, Bill, you look like you like the hand-crushing handshake, right? Like you like the firm hand crusher. That's what you look like. Yeah, like if I'm standing in line, I'm giving you like
those vibes. You do give those vibes. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Match, I try to match. So I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but
just firm.
When we meet, I'll
let you. Just a nice firm.
So.
Sorry, what'd you say? Okay. When we meet?
When we meet in person, I'll let you be the judge.
Oh, okay.
So. Yeah. So.
I was just gonna go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask. So, like, what skills or what qualities do you think like like we should be working on, or like if you were to kind of give us your best piece of advice, like what do you think our best routes should be?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, because I always tell umpires this all the time. I always tell them, look, you can't tackle everything at once. You can't do it. It's overwhelming. I tell people all the time, have one or two things you're working on. Be very specific. I'll give you an example. I go to my kids, okay, in my youth program, and I'll ask them, what are you working on right now? What aspect of umpiring are you working on? And I tell them that when someone asks that question, the answer should roll right off your tongue. You should know exactly what you're working on to be better. And once you master that item, whatever it might be, then you move on to the next one. And that's your approach. It's the old, don't eat the elephant whole, right? Eat the elephant one bite at a time. And it's never been more true than in our profession, because there's so much to get your arms around, and you're just going to overwhelm yourself. So I would start with the probably the first thing that you learn is timing. Timing is extremely important. And then the other one I would say is when you're working behind the plate, especially, but it could be anywhere. The position of your head is everything, because your eyes, if you think of your eyes as a camera, and you're too far back behind the catcher, let's say, and the catcher's head is between your eyes, the camera, and the subject, which is the ball hitting the mitt. Your eyes should finish on the catcher's when you're calling pitches. And if you're too far back and your line of vision is obstructed by the back of his head, then you're effectively guessing. And so the position of your head is everything. There is nothing that is more important than your ability to see the critical action that you have to see. You think about that. Of all aspects of the job that we have, none are more important than that. So positioning your head in the slot, very, very important. Obviously, being still is important as well, and tracking the ball with your eyes, right? I'm guessing you've all heard those things. Mastering them is something completely different. I think you'd agree. It takes a lot of work to master them. So work on one at a time. Focus on getting your head into the right position. And then secondly, work on timing. Timing hides a lot of sins, or prevents a lot of sins, because you're giving your brain a chance to understand what your eyes just saw. And if you don't do
I've
that...
heard that exact line a lot.
Yeah. So those are the two things I would really work hard on. And and I would master those things before anything else, and then I'd move on to the next. But
did you say your children
and what about off the
umpiring?
field? Oh, sorry.
Pardon?
Did you say your children got into umpiring?
Not my children. When I say my kids, I'm referring to the kids in the program. But they're my kids.
I do the same thing all the time. People are like, your kids are your students, and I'm like, my students.
Yeah.
My kids.
Yeah, I effectively refer to them as my kids for the next week or so.
Matt.
We're done. So, yeah.
Same. Yeah, they're always going to be my kids. Yeah.
We lost Matt. Hopefully he'll be back.
But what about off the field? So on the field, those are the things you need to work on. But what about off the field is important for an umpire to work on?
Well, off the field, to me, I've always said this about umpiring. When you show up at a game site at any level,
really, I'm really high up now. Sorry. Without Gibby there, it changes the camera. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we lost Matt. Huh?
He'll be back.
When you show up at the game site, you're at work now. Your job has begun. It's not the first pitch. It's when you show up. People are judging. They want to see who's going to be officiating their game today. And when you show up, it's really important that you conduct yourself that way. And that means make contact with whomever it is at the game site that would be considered the contact person, whether it's the home manager or whether there's an administrator or whatever the case. And ask them about things like you have baseballs for us. I'm here. I expect my partner in a couple minutes. I just talk to them, check in with them, let them know. Just to conduct ourselves in a professional manner. It's important and it matters, and it's all a business, and it's not a time for maybe there used to be a time back in history guys considered it to be BS time. As I know this guy, or his kid was, I was a teacher, I had his kid in class, so they turns into a BS session. It shouldn't be. There he is. Matt's back.
Now I'm short again. Hold on. Okay.
Phone died. Sorry.
I knew it.
So yeah, it's a business, and it should be conducted that way on a professional manner. So I look at that a lot, and I would strongly encourage anybody to do the same thing. And when you're going to be working a game with a partner, let's say Matt and I are going to work tomorrow somewhere. I'm in touch with Matt the day before, or maybe even a couple days before. If you're meeting for the first time at home plate, that's the first time you've seen each other. Yeah. That's a problem. Yeah. You should know exactly where you're parking, what time you're going to get there. We're going to get together. We're going to talk about pregame stuff, and all of those things fit into the professional cadence that we should follow. So, hope that's helpful.
That's all great advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be similar advice that we've gotten from other umpires that we've had on this show.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good. Let me ask you guys. I got a question for you all, and that is that.
Ooh.
How do you find your partners to be generally in terms of sharing information and feedback and talking? Going through some sort of pregame, postgame dialogue.
I think there's two kinds. There tends to be, I've found, kind of two different kinds of partners that you have. The partner who is very much, I would imagine, along the lines of everything you just described and talked about. Very meticulous, very precise, specific. Will kind of briefly chat pregame with you about different scenarios, routines. And then you have the other set of guys who kind of do the bare minimum, I would say. And there seems to be no middle. And I found there seems to be more guys on the other side than I think I would have previously thought otherwise, if that makes sense.
More guys on the side of willing to share information? More on the other side?
Yes and no.
Have you tried smiling, Matt? Have you tried like some lip gloss? Because I find that the batting of the eyes.
Yeah, you
I'm
can pull
sorry.
that off.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
You can pull that off. We can't.
The sharing of information. No, there are a lot of guys, and I bet the partners that I've had know who they are, I have gained valuable advice from. I could name over half a dozen. Paul Uva, Mike Lightbody,
At Grimes.
Exactly, Matty Grimes.
Great,
guys who are very willing to and engaged and will help, know that we're eager to learn and will help.
Yep.
There's another kind of set that they kind of just keep to themselves, and kind of figuring out who to get that information from and who to dismiss from. It takes a while to learn. It really does.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes a while to learn, like, oh, I can gain something from him, or he wants to see me succeed. There's other guys who they show up and collect their money and they're out.
Yeah, I also think there's a correlation between the number of years these umpires have been working. It seems, guys that have been doing this for 15 years or more, they're just there to, collect their money, to do their job and leave and and
I've
that's
had
and
the
that's fine.
opposite. You finished, but I've had the opposite
No.
experience.
I mean, and it seems like the the younger umpires that have been doing it maybe less than 10 years, they still have that energy and drive to want to get better and want to make their partners better. That's
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's my experience.
So I've had the opposite where the partners that I've had that have been older, and I don't know if this is the one advantage I have as a female, is that they're very surprised to see me show up. And then they're actually interested in what I know and if I want to know anything and if I have any questions for them, and really willing to talk to me after and very respectful and they'll say, do you want to hear some feedback? And I'm always like, yes, give it to me. Like, don't be nice. Like, give it to me. Whereas some younger kids that I've worked with, I told you there was one kid that showed up and he was totally hungover. I think I told you guys this story. I won't get into names, but obviously. He was like in sweatpants. He was in sweatpants. He was in like some baseball hat for like some other, like the Pirates or something, right? And we were doing a double header. And he was sweating like crazy in a t-shirt and sweatpants on the bases. And I said, you know what? You just stay there. I'll get the dish again. Don't worry about it. Like, I got this. Because I just felt like this would be abysmal for the kids.
Sounds like he needs underoos.
He needs underoos. But I will say that I've been lucky in that sense, but also in the sense that I found some mentors for myself. Right. So I was able to kind of hone those guys out and talk like post games or ask questions before I had a game. Like even like when I first had a partner for the first time, what do I ask? I don't know what to go over in a pregame conversation. Right. Like, what do I need to know? What's that? We've talked, Bill, about how we didn't know the hand signals. Right. So then our partner would be throwing out hand signals and
that's kind of
we'd just be like, okay, sure. Like, whatever, I mean, and now we know them, but in the beginning, it wasn't even something I thought to go over. So now I will do that. But I think Gib is right. It's one or the other. I think we've just had an opposite experience of the ages of who's doing what.
Interesting. It's interesting. Thank you. It's helpful to me because I'll tell you, in my members and high school level people I talk to and everything, it's kind of similar. It's a mixed bag, but I think my sense is that I seem to hear more about the people who are reluctant to really spend time on a pregame discussion, post-game discussion. And by the way, those two things are kind of cousins of one another. They should both happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then the idea of giving feedback can be a touchy subject, and how to best address that. And I always say to umpires, look, the best way to go about this is make yourself vulnerable. Look, here's what I've been working on. Mm-hmm. If you could share feedback with me on this, grateful. If you could pay particular attention to my hesitation or my timing, or if I'm moving on pitches or something, I would be grateful if you could share information. So now that opens the door, kind of brings the shield down a little bit, so to speak, and hopefully encourages a little bit of dialogue. And that's
a great idea.
That's the best way to do it, because if you just try to infringe on their territory, they're just going to tell you.
It does seem to me that a lot of my partners have been sensitive about whether or not I'd be open to their feedback, which tells me that they've had a lot of partners in the past that haven't been open to feedback. And I hear that a lot, that, some umpires just don't even want to know, or they think that they don't need to learn anything, or they think that, they know it all. So, yeah, it seems like they're a lot of my partners are very sensitive, and they ask, which is nice. It's, I'm open to give you feedback if you're opening to listening. And I always am, but that tells me that most of their partners maybe are not.
It can be very awkward sometimes, and it can really set the tone for how the day's going to go in working together. So
and it goes back to that show, right? The rehearsal.
It's a touchy subject that we've talked quite a bit about on the show. And there's a documentary that me and Danny have watched about some airline pilots and how they have to basically communicate together inside the cockpit in order for them to, have a flight. And a lot of times what they saw was there were accidents that happened that maybe they could have been prevented if
most accidents seem to be occurring because of the lack of communication between the captain and the co-captain and their whole pregame. Because a lot of times the co-captain and captain are meeting for the first time, just like umpires.
Yep.
And we saw that in the Little League World Series. Like, we literally just saw this in that clip.
There you go. Yeah. So important. Communication is a huge, and
it really is, because your success is determined upon each other. Like you fail, you win with each other. You're the best. A partner said this to me the other day, like a couple of weeks. Remember, we're the best team on the field. And like, it was one of the first times I'd heard that, but he was so right. Like, you're right. Like, it's me and him, and regardless, like,
that's a great way to start a game.
Like
what a great way to start a game.
I'm borrowing this forever, man. Like,
I like that.
Yeah, we had a great game. Like, because getting off on a good foot. We talked pregame. Yeah.
It's so important. I'll tell you. Professional level is different because crews work together all season, and you talk a lot early in the season, obviously, coming out of the gate, and then it's just everybody's on autopilot because you're working together all season. But at the college level, that's not the case. You go one weekend to another weekend, you're with a different crew, and someone might be a crew chief on one weekend and might not be a crew chief the following weekend, and but we've done a pretty good job of cultivating a culture where crew chiefs generally run their pregame meetings. It's a very consistent ritual. It's done.
Bill, my question was going to be: is the responsibilities of the crew chief that much more than the other guys?
Yeah, they have a lot of responsibility. It's at that level they do, and but they delegate some of it as well. But yeah, they have a lot of responsibilities, and a lot of it's not necessarily stuff on the field as much as it's off the field. They have a lot of stuff to consider. You're talking about travel, hotels, transportation, all those kind of things. What time we're getting to the ballpark, what has to take place when we get to the ballpark. So there's a lot of different moving parts. The crew chief kind of orchestrates those things. Like I said, sometimes he'll delegate some of it to different crewmates and stuff like that. But generally, as it relates to umpiring, he'll conduct a pregame discussion and go over things like coverage and certain points of emphasis that might have come out of the NCAA or the conference they're working for, and that kind of stuff. And it's pretty extensive. Those guys are getting to the ballpark at least an hour ahead of game time, and in some cases an hour and a half. And so they have a lot of stuff and a lot of responsibilities that they have to deal with, but it's done in every case. Now, some guys will run a better meeting than somebody else, but they all do it. It's so important. Everybody's got to be on the same page, and it's not always the same with with this guy this week and somebody else next week. They might operate a little bit differently, and you got to know. Otherwise, you end up with, like you saw in the video, double call.
Right.
And it's not pretty. So you got to make sure you're talking the same language, and the responsibilities are clear, philosophies are clear. We're going to be aggressive to go out on fly balls, for example. We're going to be aggressive. Balls hit to center, which umpire is going to go out, which umpire is not going to go out. Those are things that are discussed early because it's too late when it happens. You're not on the same page.
So Ed Odell's watching on YouTube. He said, Billy has been an excellent instructor over the years. I was a student in the past as well as many, many others. Be well, Bill.
Very nice. Thank you.
Ed Odell's awesome. Yeah,
Very
he's
nice.
great. He's great.
Yeah.
Where are we? I got lost on the question.
Yeah, I don't know where we are either. So
Which is a good thing. Anytime we
Yeah.
lose track of the that means we're having good conversation.
Pre-game discussions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we usually do. So yeah, exactly.
Well, you guys are awesome. I got to say, what you're doing is in itself is having an impact on umpiring. We get a lot of negative publicity. It's hard to recruit people. Social media works against us. We get people that act in ways that are really disgusting sometimes, and it always seems to be on camera, and it discourages people, I think, sometimes to advance, toward our.
That's one of our questions, right? Is what is the best way to deal with difficult parents, difficult players, difficult coaches? Because it feels like it's just gotten worse. And it could be the social media, but it also feels that way on the field. I mean, the three of us were all players, and the ways that I hear coaches talking and players talking, I mean, I would have been benched, as a kid, talking that way to an umpire. So what do you think? What do you think is the best way for umpires to manage that?
Yeah, the culture is not great. They get it from television. They get it watching the guys on television. Unfortunately, set a great example. It's hard for me to speak to the parents thing because I don't really operate in a world where we have parents issues and that kind of stuff.
That's true.
Consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
And to put it on the coach of the team that's involved. I put it on his shoulders to take care of that and control that. But other than that, I don't have a lot of experience with that. But fans are fans. I never worry much about what fans say. I mean, unless it's really, really across the line. But I tend to turn that off in my I got other things to worry about. So, but when it comes to coaches, managers, players, obviously there are ways to deal with those things, and we run in my training. We run nights where we talk about those things. As I said, different types of situations, going across the field versus a face-to-face confrontation. We go through all of that. We break all of those things down, and there are ways to handle those. But in a broader sense, I think putting the burden on the coach or manager of the team that's the offender can have a lot of influence and really help you. You can't fix it all yourself, So
the players very much mimic the actions of the coach.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
very much.
And sometimes it's going to them and just saying, "Look, we're the adults here. We got to fix this." And that can be powerful. Sometimes you just got to give them a wake-up call. Hey, we're the adults in the room. They forget sometimes. They really do. They just get caught up in it. And sometimes you gotta bring them back to earth. Say, hey.
I'm a school psychologist, Bill, and one of my ruling principles that I tell everybody is we treat the adults like they're kids and the kids like they're adults, and it is chef's kiss every time.
There you go.
So I do that on the field for sure.
Yeah. I see that working. See, I just learned something. Fantastic.
So I know we're almost at the 2-hour mark. I told you that we were going to need you for an hour, so we've gone over that.
But this happens every time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which it's a good thing. It means.
Yeah, it means we had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a specific rule I wanted to ask you about because it came up today in one of my games that I was playing in. There was a runner at first. He was stealing at the second, and there was a line drive. The ball hit him. Infield was back. So I understand that's a dead ball. Runner's out. I was talking to this about a fellow teammate of mine who's also an umpire, and I said, I'm pretty sure that if the infield is in, and that was the same situation where a line drive hits the runner, he's not out, and it's a live ball. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because he thought it was only the umpire. He thought it was just if it hits the umpire, who's situated behind the fielders, but it's actually also the runner as well.
Yeah,
Correct.
if he's behind the fielders and nobody else has a chance to field the ball. Yeah, it's you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I was pretty impressed with myself that
You don't see
I
that
knew
too
a
often.
rule. No, you don't. But
Snaps.
he's been umping for longer than I have, so I was impressed with myself that
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew that, and he didn't, because he thought I was just the umpire.
So many
But
rules.
it's the same situation with the umpire.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's the
Yep.
umpire behind the fielders. It's the same thing. The ball's live. Yeah, it's not umpire interference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of rules, the different
So many
amount of
rules.
rule sets that we have to remember is just
Yeah.
it's insanity.
Yeah.
And if the MIAA, the high school rules are just are crazy.
I feel for you. I really
Yeah,
feel for you. It's hard. In fact, in my teaching and what I do, I don't spend a lot of time on the rules themselves. I mean, obviously there's overlap in teaching skills. We
Mhm.
talk about rules, but there are so many different rule sets, and you guys probably have to know all of them if you work, whatever levels you're working. It's really
Right.
hard to manage all that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I don't get caught up in them too much. I'll be honest. I'm not real versed on federation rules. Probably stronger in collegiate rules than anything else. That's where I'm responsible. But I used to pride myself when I was in professional baseball on really being a solid rules person. And I did it because I feared, not knowing something on the field, so something happened, and I really worked hard at it.
Mhm.
And today, primarily I'm working with the college rules, not the professional rules. So
Mhm.
that's more where my focus is. But I do emphasize to my students and my clients that I'm working with to make sure that you are versed on the rule sets where you're working. But that's black and white stuff. I don't tie up your time on the black and white stuff that you can read and work on. I spend time on skills, umpire skills, and how you can execute when you have to enforce that rule and all of that kind of stuff. And then there's overlap. Then we do talk about the rules to that extent. But I do feel for you. It's not easy. It's hard enough to know one set of rules, then let alone 3 or 4. It's gotten kind of a point of ridiculous.
They could write them a little bit better, though, Bill. I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm reading them and I can't picture it, or I picture it and then that's actually not what the rule says.
Yeah.
And I've needed a lot of talking it out and then seeing it and being like, oh, that's what that means, right? And Dan and I, when we took the class together, I remember looking over at him at one point being like, I played baseball my whole life. I know nothing about baseball.
Yeah.
I know nothing. I know
We thought
nothing.
we knew the rules, but even Tom said you could read this rule 10 times, 10 different ways, and not understand it until you actually have an example. He gave us an example, and then you understand it. But some of the rules, the way they're written,
or you think you know it, and then you flip the page and it completely gone.
Yeah.
It's
I'm like, well, it's not a full moon, guys, so we save.
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
Like Bill, like the hit by pitch rule in the college now. I remember watching the College World Series. The kid was throwing the no hitter there, and he hit a batter, and they ruled it a strikeout. And the pitch was a ball. It was not a strike. He barely flinched, right? Could you explain that one there?
So now, if you try to get hit with a pitch, not only do you not go to first base, but it's a strike.
No matter where the pitch was.
Yeah, they changed the rules. So they've changed.
So it's but it's umpire's discretion. So it's umpire's discretion if they were trying to get hit.
Yeah.
This
And
one was ruling.
it's reviewable, so they can go to replay for it and review it. And
I'm talking like a flip, it.
But if he even moved, right? That, I guess so.
Yeah.
So that question comes up a lot.
It's like a box.
Does the batter have to move out of the way?
Okay, but outside of that, if you're trying to get hit with the ball, if you show that you're moving into the ball or something, it could be just a slight little movement. But It is. It's a judgment situation.
But the batter
that's
doesn't
penalty
have
count.
to try and get out of the way, correct? They just can't lean into it.
Can't lean into it. Yeah.
Right. But the batter doesn't have to get out of the way of a pitch.
Yeah, if it's in the box, yeah, he doesn't have to move, and but he can't move into the ball certainly. Yeah, and if you do, it's a strike now. That's another change to the rule. They've changed that rule a number of times. And
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're tough ones. They're tough ones. Even in video review, they go to video review and they're tough to.
Yeah.
Down to fractions of seconds. I mean,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's wild. So I think we have two questions left for you.
Okay.
Yes,
we'll
we
let
do.
We'll let you go because we appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. What would you say is the most rewarding part of your career?
Most rewarding part, boy, I'd have to say, working with the kids, and I've had a lot of great jobs in baseball, a lot of great jobs. It might not necessarily be my most fun job. I do love it. But when you see a kid transformed, he shows up on the first day and can't look you in the eye, and then by the time you're done, he's handling himself in a heated exchange with somebody, or he's able to come up with enough courage to strap on the gear and go behind the plate for the first time. He didn't know he had that in him. He didn't know it was
the best.
and Angie, you work with kids. It's just, there's nothing like it when you see a kid that, comes away with confidence and a sense of responsibility and a work ethic. It's really, how do you top that? That's pretty rewarding. So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then, sorry. Oh, were you going to ask both of them?
No. I was going to say that this is, and now the $64,000 question. Go ahead.
But how do we fix the umpire shortage?
Well, one way is just keep doing what you're doing. What you guys are doing, I really believe helps, because you get out a positive word, a positive tone, and I think that's important. It's hard to overcome, as I said, with social media and all of those things. It's hard. I give the city of Boston credit because they keep going back every year and finding kids to learn how to do this. I'm happy to say I've got a couple kids in the program who are actually embracing umpiring, and they're working outside of my program as well. They're putting money in their pockets. They like umpiring.
Awesome.
My hope is that, in the future they'll be, getting out there and doing it. I've got other towns that I work with as well, and I've worked with for years. I used to work with Charlestown years back. I currently still work with Wayland. They hire me every year to come back. I've worked with Melrose. I've worked with a number of communities, and they keep trying, get kids involved. And I think that's a big part of it. We need young people. The average age is very high, and it's alarming. It's heartbreaking when you hear that they're having to cancel games because they don't have enough umpires.
Yep.
That's not good. So,
yep.
We just have to keep working at it, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. I think it goes a long way. It certainly helps when there's education. People learn how to do it. They do it more confidently. They're more likely to stick with it. So stay the course. Stay the course.
Yeah, we appreciate
Absolutely.
what you're doing, and the fact that you knew what you wanted to do at 20 years old, and you're still doing it today. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's really
I've
cool.
got some great friends. I'll tell you, I share something with you. So we flew to Milwaukee about a month ago to do one of the umpire camps with MLB. That's another thing I do, these prospect camps, and those are my friends from years ago. We taught umpire school together and everything. So they hire me to be on staff, and I really cherish that. And then, I was sitting at an airport with my friend that I worked with twice in my career, and now we're working together on the staff. And we were sitting there talking about how special it is, to have such a deep friendship. When you work together with somebody for an entire baseball season, you know that person. We could finish each other's sentences, and we don't miss a beat. Here we are, 30-something years later, and we're sitting in an airport, and it's like we never missed a beat. And then you've got umpires on that staff that were after our generation and have worked their careers and now are retired and are supervisors for Major League Baseball. And they plug right in. It's like you've known them your whole life too, because we all share a common, those common experiences, and it's such a brotherhood, and it's really special. There aren't a lot of professions that have that, and I really cherish it, and it's really special. I'll never take it for granted. So, yeah.
Awesome.
It's a common, rare experience that we all share, right? We all share it commonly, but it's rare for a lot of other people. And I think that in and of itself has this like bond to it that really does, like you said, it's a brotherhood that I get to be a part of, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear that, but I do think that it really is a brotherhood. And I don't have to wear a cup, but I'm at the table, right? That's fun.
There you go. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's really cool. Did you have another? I apologize. Did you have another question beyond that?
I think those were our last two. I love the fact that you asked us a question. I don't think anyone's
that was
ever
awesome.
asked us questions. So
always gathering information.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It's
practice
great.
what I preach. I always say, "What are you working on?" I'm always working on something. I'm always just trying to gather information is helpful. So thank you for sharing.
Sure. Thank you for being on the
thank
show.
you for that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks for being here. It was great.
If someone wanted to contact you, is the website the best way if they wanted to sign up for?
Yeah, my contact information is on there, but
Okay,
for anyone who's listening, I can, that's it. I see it on screen, nebuck.com. And my phone number, if someone's looking to reach out by phone, they can do that. It's 978-828-3102.
Awesome.
And and also bill@nebuck.com. So any of those ways, but it's on the webpage, so you can see it there. And
fantastic. I'm definitely going to check out your classes on Zoom. That makes it so easy. That's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll find that to be helpful to you. And and I appreciate it. I appreciate if you spread the word.
Absolutely.
It was good to be on with you. So.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah. Thanks again. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Tom
Bill.
Clues spoke highly of you, and he's been spot on. You've been great, and every episode we learn, more and more about the beauty of umpiring, the dark side, like we said. Join the dark side.
Right.
But thank you. We really appreciate it.
But we love it.
Yeah, we love it. We
We
love
do.
it.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, everybody.
Thanks
Take
so
care.
much. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Oh, I gotta add Gib back to because we lost him earlier.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
So I had a story that I forgot to tell you guys.
Oh.
So, and this, okay,
Does that
so
do
this
with underoos?
happened. It does not, but for anybody listening, I've got my underoos in the mail from Lululemon, 3 pairs. So, no more sweaty ass.
Yeah, baby.
So I can't believe I forgot to tell you guys this story. So while Bill was talking, it jogged my memory about how, you never know who's in the stands and so on and so forth when you show up at a game and how to behave. Well, there was a town that I had probably 4 games in a row for about a week and a half. I was there, whatever. And somebody, no, it wasn't. I'm not going to mention names. No, it wasn't. No, I refuse. No, I go there as little as possible. But in a town that I will not name. But I show up at the field and I see this woman and I'm like, I know you. How do I know you? how do I know? And so the whole time, and I'm like, oh my God. And I realized probably during like the third inning that we had gone out on a date in college and I completely ghosted her. And
What?
then, yeah. And so then I'm like, oh my God, it's totally her. And then her kid comes up and they say the kid's last name. And I was like, it's totally her. And anyways, so then I proceed to go back to the same field for the same team 4 times, literally in the next week and a half. And it's her every time. And I just walk out like with my head down.
Wait, what's her role? What's her role with the team?
She was a parent.
She was
a parent on the team.
Oh my God.
But this person is also an athletic director, and so I thought, when we had gone out on this date, this person had been an athletic director at a certain town, and so I thought, oh, that's so sweet. Like she's here supporting these kids in the summer, and then. Angie, the kid comes up and they say the kid's last name, and I was like, oh my God, that's her kid. Oh my God, she's gonna be here. Oh my God. So yeah. We made eyes, and I think it was one of these mutual, like, no, I know exactly who you are, and we'll just,
clicked. It all clicked.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Yeah. So anyways, so that happened. So the entire time I'm standing on the field, because it wasn't one of those like, oh, I just know her from somewhere. It was like, there's a vibe here. Like, I know her. Yeah. So anyways, yeah. So you never know who you're gonna run into.
Yeah. Ain't that
And
the truth.
the whole time I was like, that's all I could think about. I was having such a hard time focusing, and then getting assigned to that field 4 more times. You know what? It's karma. It's karma for doing what I did. I'm so sorry.
Right.
It happened. I was
Good
in my
stuff.
20s. I was in my 20s. Anyway.
What's up,
yeah.
Phil? How we doing? Speaking of girls, did you have anything for your segment?
You know, I'm a shit. No, I've got nothing for this week. I was just like riding the high of like Jen Powell and like defending her online, that I just haven't.
Well, you're not doing
Had a
your
chance.
research, because
I did not do my research this week.
there was
Did you?
a female that played in the Little League World Series
Yes, today.
today and earlier in the
Sick.
week, I think.
The only one
Yeah, the only one.
from Team Mexico.
Sick.
And she had a nice hit. I forget what team I was trying to look it up because I saw it on ESPN.
But it melts my heart that you boys are noticing this stuff. So you know
We're
what?
paying attention to it.
You
Come
guys are
on,
the
Yeah,
best.
buddy. Yeah,
You guys
buddy.
are the best.
I watched.
I love it. I love it.
And Ange, actually, we failed to mention that last week. I didn't want to ruin the high, but the Red Sox had the first all-female broadcast.
yes.
that-
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yep, that's
yes,
another
they
one.
did. Yes, they did.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
thing that people were bitching about and that I was like defending. But anyways, oh my, it's like what?
We should
But
go
you know
find
what?
these people in real life.
Alright, go find something else to.
Oh, I showed you all of their screenshots.
Yeah, I know.
I took screenshots of all of their pictures. Like, sir, you need to go to a dentist before you talk about shit, okay? like, no.
Oh, God. People
Yeah.
so tough behind their little keyboards.
So tough. And they wouldn't say anything to my face.
No.
But they're the same kind of guys that you would
Never.
cover your drink around at a bar. You know those guys? No, you guys don't know those guys. But ladies, for the one other that's watching.
I have been roofied before.
Have you
It was
really?
weird. Yeah, probably accidental, but yeah, it was crazy.
Uh-huh.
You remember Jake Ivory's?
Oh my God, the piano bar.
Fenway, yeah.
Yeah, the
I
dueling pianos.
I literally had like 2 Coronas, and I couldn't walk. I went to the bathroom, I started throwing up, and I literally
God, it's
couldn't
scary.
walk. And my friends didn't know where the hell I went, so they left me. I think I took a cab home. I couldn't even walk. Like, I was holding the wall just to like get outside to the cab.
Oh my God.
I think I ended up like throwing up in the cab, and I woke up the next morning. I was like, "What the hell just happened?"
So you guys need girl code, man. We don't leave a bar without our sisters. Like, you don't go anywhere. You go into the bathroom
I
together.
guess
You
they
don't leave
checked.
each other.
They checked the bathroom and they didn't see me. I don't remember,
Oh.
but yeah, it was crazy.
I
Yeah.
met them too late.
Yeah. Where were you,
Yeah.
Gib?
Yeah, I think it was before I even knew Gib. Maybe.
Saved them from enough.
Yeah.
And he saved me from plenty too. So.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so
That's a whole
a
nother
girl was on
episode.
team. Yeah, a girl was on Team Mexico. That's awesome. I love it. I love seeing it more and more.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I think, yeah, I was. we were
Well,
on
you know what? I'll have to
today.
research it and I'll have it for next week.
Also, a shout out to Braintree Little League.
Oh yeah, Braintree
Yes!
Little League. Yeah,
Yes, we
and they
did.
won. They
Yes!
won today, yesterday.
No, they won last night. They got eliminated today.
Oh really?
Oh, did
But they
they?
beat a Texas team, right? Which
They won.
I don't-
I think it was like 7-2 last night, and then they had to turn around and play a 9 a.m. game this morning.
Oh, that's brutal.
And they lost 3-2,
oh.
I believe. But
Did you hear about the pub in Weymouth that named, not named Weymouth, I'm sorry, in Braintree, that named a dish after every single one of them?
no, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. It was
That's
like,
cool.
one
The
kid's like
Southside?
grilled cheese. No, I forget the name of it. It was like one kid's grilled cheese and like another one's chicken parm. And it was like all their favorite dishes, but their names were on the menu for this place. I'll find that too. It was
That's
super
awesome.
cute.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Billboards were everywhere. It's awesome.
those kids are gonna come home heroes. It's awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
if there's anything we can do, honestly, to bring in more umpires, it's we got to bring back baseball. I feel like we've seen it, right? City teams are getting smaller and smaller. Leagues are getting smaller and smaller. We really got to bring that love
And
back.
that's a perfect segue to me promoting the old time baseball game coming up on Wednesday. Fielder's Choice podcast will be there live streaming
Yes, we
game.
will.
Brock Holt, former Red Sox player, will be playing. I heard he's starting on the mound. But a bunch of our umpire friends will be there umping.
Yep.
I think they got 6 umpires umping
Pumped.
that game. Some players in our league are playing. Yeah, it should be great.
Yep.
And if you want to watch in person, it's at St. Peter's Field in Cambridge at 7 o'clock Wednesday, August 20th. But yeah,
And I believe it's Sherman Street. It's on Sherman and Ringe or Sherman and Walden.
correct.
Yeah.
And that will be streaming live on the Old Time Baseball game Facebook page, as well as their website, oldtimebaseball.com.
Awesome.
I'm excited,
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
I
it'll
get
be
to
fun.
see you every week, but now I get to see you in person.
Yeah.
Let's
Hopefully it
go.
doesn't rain and we get good weather and everything
Yes.
is good to go.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll see you then. And of course, next Sunday, 8 o'clock,
We'll be here.
we'll
Yeah.
do it all over again.
Episode 16 in the books, gentlemen.
In the books, Sweet 16.
Happy Sunday, guys.
And
Happy
thank
Sunday.
you to Bill McCallum.
Yeah.
A great guest.
Yeah. We've been so lucky. We've had such great guests on.
Yeah, we
And we keep getting them, right?
Yeah, who keeps finding
Yeah.
these guests? don't know.
I
Nice
mean,
job, buddy.
it's got to be our producer
Producer,
and
yeah. A producer, yeah.
That's why we're paying you the big bucks.
That's right, Dan
Yeah.
Field.
I haven't got my first check yet, though.
Actually, you got your first Venmo the other day, so
I did.
that's not true.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like, although I do feel like Gib and I have been trying, but for some reason
It's
people
not easy.
reach out
It's-
to you. It is so not easy.
Well, no,
but
I
you've
reach out
managed
to. I'm
to.
reaching out to them. They don't reach. I mean, I've had a couple reach out to me that
Yeah.
express interest, but mostly just reaching out to them. And I'm definitely gonna try and get Jen's contact info from.
Oh, we have to.
Might not
We
be
have to
a
send
bad
her some
idea.
clips. We got to blow
Yeah.
up and send her some clips.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like if you have 1 million followers, it's a lot easier to get
Yeah.
famous guests. But
Yeah.
yeah, so help us out, guys. Make sure you
Yep.
like and subscribe. Facebook,
Like and
YouTube,
subscribe.
Instagram, Spotify. Check
Help us
out.
get Jen on the podcast.
Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
But until
Okay.
then, we'll see you guys Wednesday night at the Old Time Baseball game. Thanks
Bye.
for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Good night.
Week.